Well, all right, everybody, it is Record Time with Chris, episode 49. The Record Store Day 2019 list was just posted, and while I don't have any actual records to hold up for you, I got plenty of thoughts on things that you'll be glad to know about. And I think there's some, there's some obvious things like the Crow soundtrack, not the score, but the actual songs like Nine Inch Nails and other people. The fact that's being issued on vinyl, like that's a big deal. You got like Weezer, the Teal album, Something to Expect, and like the usuals who always have stuff like the Grateful Dead, Flaming Lips, blah blah blah. I'll talk about that stuff later. Doors, but I also want to mention some things like that fall into the, I didn't know I needed that, but of course I need it. And so the first thing is a band and group called Stargaze, and they put spaces between every letter, and it's all lowercase, so it's S-T-A-R-G-A, right, Stargaze. Now they're like a chamber orchestra that, if you ever heard the Revenant soundtrack, which was really cool, they did that. So it's them, chamber orchestra, plus a guy from Deerhoof covering a Fugazi album all the way through, in on the Kill Taker. But there's other stuff, like there's Baby Shark 7-inch, Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 1999 Eternal on white vinyl. Don't know if that's been reissued on vinyl at all, I can't think of it. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, 4-Way Street. Rhino released their like Start Your Ear Off Right series in January. They released So Far, which is like like a greatest hits of CSN and CSNY. But we got this in 4-Way Street. Does that mean that we have a nice remaster of Deja Vu coming? Because that would be seriously fantastic. And 4-Way Street was cut by Chris Bellman, so it's going to sound fantastic. There's a Dr. Dog live album, Lord Huron 7-inch with Phoebe Bridgers collaboration, so that's pretty cool. One-sided 7-inch, etching on the other. Mastodon covering Stairway to Heaven, both in studio and live. It's a tribute to their manager who just passed away. He was a big Zepp fan. There's a reissue by the band Pepper. There are 2 soundtracks by Sigur Rós, and we know those always go really quickly, but you can breathe a little bit more easily because at least they'll be available in the US. I think the last one, or maybe more. Sometimes there's stuff you can't even get in the US, so hooray for us. Seems like they like to put out albums on at the same time, so you have a Soccer Mommy 7-inch and you have a Hockey Dad EP, both of which have like 2 unreleased songs. Oh, no, those are both their original releases. So the Soccer Mommy, this is the first time on vinyl. The only way it was ever released physically was on cassette originally, and the Hockey Dad thing is their first EP on glow-in-the-dark vinyl. Bingo Hand Job was the name that REM used when they did like a secret gig in England or somewhere in '91. So that was recorded and is coming out. Pretty cool. There's what had previously been promo only, Craig Mack and the Notorious B.I.G. Then there's also a covers album coming from Leanne Rimes, and she covers a bunch of real famous country people. Like there's a song that Buck Owens made famous, and Willie Nelson and Bob Wills, Waylon Jennings, and some other well-known some other artists well known for their country songwriting prowess, like Oasis. Yeah, she's got Wonderwall on there. And you know how every year there's Record Store Day curated compilation from the Sun Records catalog? Well, this year, and I think it's the 6th one, Record Store Day stores voted on, and this year it was all tracks by women. Maybe you've seen, because this was announced at CES a couple months ago. There's a 3-inch record player, a little turntable that's going to play 3-inch records. It was they were made in Japan before and kind of disappeared, and now we're bringing them back. The first one, the player itself comes with a Foo Fighters record, and watch your local listings because there, I think, are maybe 3 more 3-inch records that will be announced for Record Store Day. Keep your eyes out for that. We got a couple Prince reissues. There's the Sheena Easton 12-inch that was Prince produced but was not under his name. So just remember that when you're looking for your Prince stuff, you also have to go grab that Sheena Easton 12-inch. B-52s, Mesopotamia. That was going to be their second album produced by David Byrne, but I don't know, people weren't getting along or something happened, so it became an EP. And then they just went on to their next album. We got Bill Hicks, a comedy set of his that had been pared down to fit on like a 2 CD set before, but now there's an extra 43 minutes, so you get the complete concert. We didn't have that before. David Bowie pinups, Picture Disc, Cheap Trick, Epic Archives. This is the 3rd volume. Fela Kuti and Roy Ayers, interesting little combination there. Jeff Tweedy with something called Warmer. Now, he just released an album called Warm. Well, this is a whole studio album of stuff recorded at the same time that didn't make Warm. So how about that for a whole brand new album of new stuff for Record Store Day? That's pretty cool. My Chemical Romance, Black Parade reissue. Maybe you know the song Fish Heads, which was like on Dr. Demento. So there's a 12-inch with Osaka Pop Star's cover of that song. And it also has the original one by Barnes and Barnes, which one of those guys was Billy Mummy from the original. He was a little boy on the original Lost in Space TV show. Yeah, and this is connected to that Dr. Demento Covered in Punk compilation, which is punk rock covers of songs from the Dr. Demento radio show. There's Ramones live album from 1979. I think it was in the box set, most recent box set, but now you can get it separate. 12 inches by Dr. Dre and Old Dirty Bastard, DJ Khaled. The Robert Plant album, Fate of Nations, getting reissued. There's a RZA reissue. Soul Slabs, Volume 2. Now, that's a compilation of things that had previously been only available on 7 inches by the Ohio label Coal Mine. If you're not familiar with Coal Mine, they're finding new artists who are swimming in that like kind of Meters-y type funk pool, and their stuff is highly collectible, and it's great. Sun O has a brand new album. It's called Life Metal, and on Record Store Day you can get the LP or the CD. There's a EP of new tracks from Thrice. Got some like classic metal. There's Dio, Saxon, and Motorhead, and Tommy Bolin all have some stuff. Oh, Ace Frehley picture disc of his last album. There's the mono mix of Albert King's Born Under a Bad Sign. Let's see, there's a Badfinger Rarities 2 LP set, and then some new stuff from Boy George, Van Farlow, Reservoir, first time on vinyl, Flaming Lips, called King's Mouth, which has narration by Mick Jones from The Clash. Got reissues of 2 Frank Black albums. There's a John Paul White album. The regular album comes out the day before Record Store Day, but if you wait a day, you could get the Record Store Day version, which adds in a bonus 7-inch. There's L.A. Nuggets compilation, Lou Reed album, Ecstasy. A couple Japanese versions of Madonna 12 inches. Los Lobotomies, which is like 2 or 3 guys from Toto and like some other session people like Bill Lee, who was like on the David Letterman band, and a bunch of other New York session folks. And that's like a covers thing. ORG, which always does a real great job of pressing stuff, has a Cecil Taylor album for us and an Art Ensemble of Chicago album for us. There's also Wynton Marsalis EP with some songs from his soundtrack to Bolden. There's a Herbie Hancock album coming, which had previously been available only in Japan. Pete Rock is going to launch his reissue campaign on Record Store Day, so it's the first of many reissues. There's a couple James Brown reissues coming. Chuck Mosley, who was in the first Faith No More lineup and then was in Bad Brains for a couple years. There's a 7-inch with the 2 songs from his last recording session. And Czarface will be back with another one of those comic book and record sets, but this is a 12-inch record. Full album and 2 stories to read while you listen. I'm going to rattle off a bunch of 7-inches here, and all these have at least 1, usually 2 songs that are like, won't be on the album when it comes out, or, you know, new. It's all new stuff. Anderson .Paak, Bad Religion, just announced a new album. Basement, a guy from the Veils, I forgot his name. Hailstorm, I remember that's Green. Human Switchboard, which also comes with a zine, and they're like a Cleveland or Cincinnati punk band from the 70s. Julian Baker, the Mensingers, Morrissey, Swerve Driver. It's a lot more. There's probably, you know, there's probably like 100 7-inches. You know how that always is. Box sets. Always got box sets. So the 7-inch box sets. Al Green, Aretha Franklin. There's a Sugar Hill Records 6x 12-inch box set. So that's got like Grandmaster Flash and of course Rapper's Delight, which was like the first rap song I ever heard on the radio where I grew up. Warner Brothers has some nice box sets of covering just big chunks of their artist's catalog. So there's a Devo one, there's a Emmylou Harris one, and this covers like early 80s. The 70s period box set that came out last Record Store Day was fucking phenomenal. It sounded so good, so I assume they're going to do another great job pressing it, so you'll be real happy with it. Okay, pull me back in here. Goo Goo Dolls, same deal. Warner Brothers albums, 5 records. Todd Rundgren, 4 LP box set. This is for you, Mint Cake Time. That's right, the cassette guy. Anyway, it's 4 LPs of like rarities and singles. No, it's just the singles. From his Bearsville and Warner period, 4 LPs. I'll run through some like more psychedelic jam bandy stuff. So Allman Brothers, that Fillmore East 1970 album that came out way long ago, we're getting that back. There's a 10-inch of Chris Robinson Brotherhood, which is 2 new songs on a picture disc. But what's cool for a 10-inch is it's also a gatefold. I don't think we've seen a lot of those. I know that like Legacy did a bunch for a while there with like Janis Joplin and I forget who else. I know there was a Janis Joplin one. It was a Sony thing. It looked pretty nice. There's 2 Grateful Dead things. So there's Warfield 1980, which will be available as a double LP and as a double CD. But there's also something called Sage and Spirit, which, as best as I can tell, is like a compilation, sort of like a mood-related compilation of it's described as like stuff for like sitting on your porch and hanging out at night. And I think that's connected to Dogfish Beer. Possibly not. There's a Hawkwind live album from 1974. We get some Tedeschi Trucks outtakes from their last album, and the second side is like a 11-minute jam of a song they're only playing live right now, new song. We get the Woodstock soundtrack to the original Woodstock movie, but it's in mono, and they found some extra stuff. So it's like they've got a couple additional Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young tracks, and there's something where Arlo Guthrie or somebody, they had to replace his Woodstock recording with something he recorded at the Troubadour or something, and so now they put the original Woodstock performance back on there. So if you've had it before, you probably had the stereo version, so mono, new stuff. There's also not exactly jam band in any sort of way, but Green Day's 1994 Woodstock performance. You're going to have that. There's also like live albums from different festivals, from Canned Heat. Oh, that's the Woodstock one. Canned Heat separate, and then Otis Redding. Tiny Tim live album. There's a whole ton of soundtracks, right? So it's two or maybe three different Transformers movie soundtracks: House of Wax, Basketball Diaries, Coneheads, Knight Rider, the first of the new J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Score, Krypton, Malcolm X, New Jack City, Private Parts, South Park, Lost in Translation, No Alternative, Twin Peaks Season 2. Anna Tijoux 2012 album will get its first vinyl release around Record Store Day. There's also the Doors London Fog. Now that's a 10-inch, and I think it's the same as what was in this box set a few years ago, but it's just the record. It doesn't have the box and the CD and all the like prints and cool goodies that were in the box. So if you didn't get the box, you could get this, and if you already have the box, you're buying it for the cover. And there's also a Elvis Costello and the Imposters EP, which is, it's interesting. It's all songs that he wrote with other people, like one with McCartney, one with Dylan, and of the 4 tracks, only one has ever been released, and that was on a soundtrack album. The Poppies, Assorted Finery from the first psychedelic age, is exactly what it sounds like. It's a psych comp, and it's stuff from labels whose haven't been like, their catalogs haven't been mined for these types of things so much. So if you have any of this stuff, you probably don't have a lot of it unless you're like a super duper, like a really deep collection of this stuff. But it's all taken from the labels Vanguard, Hip, Original Sound, and Musart. Alright, and I'm just going to wrap this up with some prog, because there's a 1972 Emerson, Lake and Palmer show that had been in a box set before, but never vinyl. Jethro Tull, North Sea Oil, Yes' first album, and this caught my attention. This is interesting. Peter Gabriel, it's called Rated PG, and it's a bunch of songs from movie soundtracks that he did. And not Birdie, not Last Temptation of Christ, you know, random stuff, like one-off things for random movies. Cool idea, no? Now, yes, there are 100 things that I didn't mention, but you know what? That's how it is. You go through the list, see what excites you, and you know, hey, we'll see you again soon. As the stuff starts to come in, I'll start showing it to you, and well, you know where to find me. So long, everybody. Until I talk to you again, I hope you are listening to something awesome.